NASCAR silly season continues to unfold. Erik Jones going to the 43. Where will Kyle Larson end up? Hailie Deegan, she's coming to the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series next year. We'll talk about her upcoming season. And latest on Lance Stroll's situation and the current pandemic. All right here on Grid Tonight. Hello, welcome to Grid Tonight, your motorsports weekly news program each and every week right here on the Grid Network. Be sure to like and subscribe to the Grid Network, not miss any of our programs. Joe Sanriego along with Kobe Lambeth from the Podium Finish. We have a lot of silly season news from NASCAR to go over, including the official announcements made this week from Chase Briscoe, Hailie Deegan. But we'll start off with one driver that hasn't made an official announcement yet, and that is Kyle Larson.
Many are anticipating an announcement that Kyle Larson will be eventually joining Hendrick Motorsports in 2021. Speculation picked up after the news of Alex Bowman going to the number 48 Ally Chevrolet. Also, the potential return of an iconic number to the Hendrick Motorsports stable. Is it a fair assumption that Larson will be at Hendrick Motorsports next year? And what are your thoughts on the potential of the number 5 coming back and the 88 going away?
I do see it as a fair assumption that Kyle Larson is going to be in that that 5 ride, assuming that the 5 is going to replace the 88 number in 2021. One of the big things, of course, we don't have that many rides available right now. We're going to get a little bit later into RPM's new driver. We know where Chase Briscoe's going, the 14. So really, if Kyle Larson was to get a top-tier ride, it would have to be with Hendrick Motorsports. And currently right now, if that was to be the case, it looks like it would be in the number 5, or we could still get another news that could be the 25 or a different number. But it definitely looks like it's a fair assumption to think that Kyle Larson will be driving for Hendrick Motorsports.
Yeah, definitely. Pretty much a done deal that Kyle Larson is going to be at Hendrick Motorsports next year and into the future. And yeah, you're right. Hendrick Motorsports also has the number 25 as well, and it would not surprise me to see the number 88 number go away and go back to 5 or even the 25 or another number. I think the number he uses in sprint cars is number 57, and Hendrick Motorsports used to use that number in what is now the NASCAR Xfinity Series. And on Monday, NASCAR reinstated Kyle Larson. He completed sensitivity training and other programs to educate himself about cultures outside of his own. He'll be able to compete in NASCAR events again starting January 1st, 2021. And Chevrolet said it supports NASCAR's decision, citing the push to make the sport a more inclusive experience for all and welcome the diversity. And joining Hendrick would be an upgrade over his former ride at Chip Ganassi Racing. And some feel that Larson should start off with a mid-pack team and work his way back to having a top-tier ride. Do you think Kyle Larson is worthy of restarting his NASCAR career in a Hendrick car, instead of taking a route like Kurt Busch when he had to drive for Phoenix Racing before earning his way back to competitive equipment?
That's a very interesting question, and we encourage all our viewers in the chat room. Be sure to share your response, your thoughts on this question and all our topics here on the program. When it comes to Kyle Larson, Hendrick Motorsports, they see the potential with Kyle Larson, what he did at Chip Ganassi Racing. Prior to his arrival at Chip Ganassi Racing, Juan Pablo Montoya was in that 42 vehicle, had a couple of wins here and there, but it wasn't consistently in the playoffs. Kyle Larson brought that team to the playoffs consistently. The potential of him in one of Hendrick Motorsports vehicles, you're looking at potential wins, and I think there's going to be the expectation of wins. Compare that to Kurt Busch in his situation, it seems like a little bit more different in the sense where a lot of the top tier rides were already gone. And really, it was just Phoenix Motorsports that could put him in the seat for the following year. And he did really have to work his way up to get a better ride. So I think it's a little bit of a different situation, but I do see the talent level that Kyle Larson has behind the wheel is something that Rick Hendrick is really more interested in putting into his cars.
Yeah, Kyle Larson is definitely a very talented race car driver, and if you're Rick Hendrick, you'd be really I don't want to say that, but you'd be stupid to pass up on a driver with Kyle Larson's talent, and it was really crazy because at the beginning of this free agency cycle heading into next year, and before the Monza Madness incident, we thought Well, everybody thought Kyle Larson was going to be a front runner to replace Jimmy Johnson in the 48. And while he's not going to be in the number 48 Ally Chevrolet, it seems like Kyle Larson is definitely going to make his way to Hendrick Motorsports, and as a driver of the Fort Hendrick team, and it looks like everything's going to come full circle there for Kyle Larson. And yes, he's going to be in better equipment than he was at Chip Ganassi Racing. And I think moving forward, this is going to have to be an opportunity that Kyle Larson does not need to mess up, because if he messes up again at any point in his career down the road, that's probably going to be the end of his NASCAR career. And we've been following Kyle Larson's journey since Monza Madness. He said a racial slur heard around the world, lost everything, and damaged his image. And then he went to work on the road to redemption. And recently, James Brown on CBS This Morning interviewed Kyle Larson. Brown said he feels like Kyle Larson is the real deal with the body of work he has done since he said the word that should never, ever be said. Considering it's been 6 months since the incident, the journey he's been through, and the people that have said they believe Larson is genuinely changing, did that make it easier for NASCAR to reinstate him?
For NASCAR to reinstate Kyle Larson, they know that there's going to be a lot of attention, a lot of news media when the news comes out, no matter when Kyle Larson applies to be reinstated and does get reinstated. The journey he's been through, and then to have James Brown from CBS, other prominent people from the African American community say they see the line of work he's done. He's doing this line of work because he has a change in heart. If he didn't, he wouldn't be doing this much. That really, in ways, shows, sort of in a way, I think, makes NASCAR decision a little bit more easier. That, okay, we have people that are saying that were essentially hurt by what Kyle Larson said, saying he deserves a second chance. They support him having a second chance, and that just made for NASCAR a choice of reinstatement. All right, he has all these people giving him accolades. Let's give him a second chance.
And while Kyle Larson has completed the long journey to reinstate it, there was one driver who's been suspended indefinitely by NASCAR who isn't doing the same, and that driver is Mike Wallace. A few days ago, a video surfaced online from ex-NASCAR driver Brandon Hightower of Mike Wallace and another person. In the video, Wallace said that he feels that NASCAR has fallen for a leftist group among a list of disturbing comments that I will not repeat on this program. It's perfectly clear that he's not showing any effort in trying to listen and learn, as NASCAR has said with their campaign. NASCAR suspended Wallace indefinitely due to some insensitive social media comments. And while NASCAR never specified which particular post got him in trouble, if you just went through his Facebook page, some of his posts could easily be interpreted as racist and ignorant. And to show that he doesn't feel like he was wrong, he tried to appeal his suspension multiple times and lost. I know, shocker, right? How has Kyle Larson done since Monza Madness, and what on the earth is Mike Wallace's problem? And based on the video, I really don't think going through sensitivity training will do him any good at all.
It's a tale of two drivers that essentially took very different routes. And at the same time, it's very unfortunate the route Mike Wallace has decided to go. With Kyle Larson, he has demonstrated about opening up your mind, your heart, and listening. You know what he did was wrong. He could have just done one training, tried to apply for reinstatement, and try to call it good and come back quicker. He went on a long journey to become a better person, to listen and learn. And he said on CBS This Morning, he didn't realize the struggles an African American has in this country. From his essay, he's done more than just amendment to get reinstated. Whereas Mike Wallace, he feels he's done nothing wrong. He feels NASCAR is being political, which is very sad and is ignorant on his part. Why doesn't he want to take the time to talk to somebody about how hurtful the Confederate flag is, learn from their perspective? Why doesn't he want to reach out to Kyle Larson to really easily reach out and learn and go on a journey just like Kyle Larson did? It's really unfortunate, his attitude, and it isn't doing Mike Wallace any good.
Yeah, you're right. Definitely not doing Mike Wallace any good. And one thing that I've been thinking of, Mike Wallace is 61 years old, and typically, when as people get older, they get more set in their ways, and they're not going to change. And the 6 decades that Mike Wallace has been around, it might be a little harder to get him to change and see his ways. Some people are obviously, they're deep and set into their beliefs, and no matter what you try, they're not gonna change. I just wish that Mike Wallace could just take a step back for a second, learn and listen why all of these troubling social media posts are not cool at all. Because at this point, I feel like he shouldn't even worry about seeking reinstatement. Like, yeah, you're 61, Mike. Just just move on, because it doesn't seem like that he's going to understand this, and I really hope that he ends up proving me wrong.
I agree with you. Everything you said. It's really unfortunate, and definitely, if he was to change of heart, start going, learning, and prove us all wrong, that'd be something we would welcome to see him have a change. One of the big things, of course, we haven't seen a whole lot of change, but it's still coming down towards the end of the season. The grid ranking for 2021. Saturday's Bathurst 1000 was the final race for the Australian Supercar Series, and possibly the final race as a full-time driver in that series for Scott McLaughlin. This season, 13 wins, 22 top 5 finishes. That's 81% of the time this season, and 24 top 10s. That's 89% of the time he finished in the top 10. And they only had 27 races this season due to the pandemic. Scott McLaughlin ends the season with a total score of 19.16 and had the grid ranking lead for pretty much most of the season. There's been a lot of lead changes, the most lead changes in a season for the grid ranking. Right now, only 3 drivers are eligible for the grid ranking world championship. Lewis Hamilton in Formula One with an 18.40, and Kevin Harvick at NASCAR with a 19.42. Now, of the drivers that have won the grid ranking world championship, no driver from Formula One, Australian Supercars, have won the world championship, and only NASCAR driver Martin Truex Jr. won it in 2017, the first year of the grid ranking. Toby, how exciting is it to see that one of these drivers will be essentially the third different driver to be crowned the grid ranking world champion?
Oh, Joe, it's definitely very exciting to see Scott McLaughlin from Supercars, Lewis Hamilton Formula One, and Kevin Harvick in NASCAR going for the grid ranking world championship. And it just shows how effective the grid ranking is in rating some of the best drivers in the world in their particular disciplines. And you see right there, got 3 drivers, three different disciplines. Got stock car racing, you have the supercars and open wheel and Formula One. It's just really cool to see 3 drivers currently at the top of their discipline up there battling for the grid ranking world championship.
Very exciting, and I did misspoke on Kevin Harvick's score, a 17.73 for Kevin Harvick currently in the grid ranking. Taking a look at the path for Kevin Harvick and Lewis Hamilton to try to get around Scott McLaughlin. For Lewis Hamilton, Formula One has 6 races left. If he was to essentially win every race, easily will pass Scott McLaughlin and hold the tiebreaker for the number of wins in the season. The second tiebreaker is the top 5 percentage. Right now, if Hamilton was to go and win every race, he would easily get that one as well. The other route, if Lewis Hamilton was to win 4 races from the pole and at least get 2 second place finishes, considering he started from 3rd place or further back, so he had to work his way to the front, he could look at getting the grid ranking world championship. How are the chances of Lewis Hamilton looking to get the grid ranking, considering he has to win every race or get 4 wins and at least 2 second place finishes?
Oh, since Lewis Hamilton is obviously in the best car in Formula One, the fastest car, I think he has a great chance of beating Scott McLaughlin for the grid ranking world championship. But you never know. Anything can happen in this final stretch of the Formula One season. He could have a mechanical failure, get involved in a crash, or see or get a time penalty. We could see something like the Italian Grand Prix with Pierre Gasly winning and Lewis Hamilton having to try to claw his way back.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see. Mathematically, it shows with Lewis Hamilton having the best car, earning 4 wins, 2 second place finishes, it looks very doable. But we have a repeat of the Italian Grand Prix, a time penalty like what we saw in Russia or in Austria, the first race. That could really throw off Lewis Hamilton's chances. Now, Kevin Harvick, only 3 races left to surpass Scott McLaughlin. McLaughlin holds the tiebreakers with the number of wins, 13. Harvick essentially must win the next 3 races if he wants to surpass Scott McLaughlin for the grid ranking world championship. Do you see Kevin Harvick being able to win the next 3 races? I mean, we have Texas, a track he's good at, Phoenix, where he's really good, but Martinsville is going to be very chaotic.
No, I don't see Kevin Harvick being able to win the next 3 races at all. I mean, he could. I mean, he certainly could be competitive this weekend at Texas Motor Speedway. You mentioned it's a track that he's good at, and then Phoenix Raceway. I call that Kevin Harvick's house. He's already my pick a winner for Phoenix and to take the championship. So yeah, so put a Sharpie on that. Yeah, but and you're right. Martinsville could be chaotic and unpredictable, and I don't think that Kevin Harvick is one of the best short track racers in NASCAR. But I do think that he can be a contention to win. But I certainly don't see him winning the next 3 races in a row.
It would be really impressive if he was to win the next 3 races in a row. Phoenix easily could win there. As you said, that's a very strong track from Texas. He's won there. Martinsville is the wild card in this playoff round. Anybody could win there. And of course, if we have a chaotic race and he keeps his nose clean, he could still be there. Some additional notes. Antonio Felix da Costa, of course, Formula E season, he is no longer scoring points, but he has been gaining ground as the other drivers have been inconsistent. Could get up as high as second place if we were to see Lewis Hamilton and Kevin Harvick just have horrendous rest of the season. Now, if Hamilton and Harvick were to finish in the top 10 or lower in additional races, they will, of course, lose ground, but of course, finishing the top 10, especially the top 3, will definitely earn you valuable points. Denny Hamlin, if he was to win the next 3 races, he can get up as to high as 4th place, even up to 2nd place, depending on what happens to Lewis Hamilton and Kevin Harvick. But of course, everyone is chasing Scott McLaughlin, and it's been very exciting to see how he has improved every year since the introduction of the grid ranking. In 2017, Scott McLaughlin came in 5th place, 4th place in 2018, and last year, 2nd place, losing out after coming 1 position short in the final race for the Supercar Series at Newcastle. How exciting is it to see essentially Scott McLaughlin just become this dominant driver over the years, and now he's going to take his talent to IndyCar next year?
It's been really exciting watching Scott McLaughlin grow as a driver over the years in supercars down under. I mean, it's been really ridiculous how him and DJR Team Penske have been dominating the competition. But I assure you, when he gets to IndyCar, it's not going to be that way anymore. I do think that I'm sure we're going to go over this weekend on the Grid Live pre-race show. But I do see Scott McLaughlin being one of those what I call super rookies. I think that Scott McLaughlin is going to be a Robert Wickens once it gets to the IndyCar series. He's just going to slide into the seat and he's going to, like he's been doing this for like 10, 11, 12 years. Yeah, I don't think we're going to see Scott McLaughlin dominate the grid ranking anymore. I do think he's certainly he's going to be on the scoring sheets, but I don't see him being as high as he has been in supercars because IndyCar competition is going to be a lot tougher for him to perform the way that he's been performing in supercars and in the grid ranking world championship.
It will be very interesting to see how he does this weekend in the IndyCars. Now, of course, his IndyCar race will not be scored in the grid ranking. The grid ranking is series based. So since Scott McLaughlin's primary series was the Australian Supercars, that's where he scored. If you follow the Grid World Motorsport League, and we encourage everyone to visit the Grid World Motorsport League at grid_WML on Twitter, there his race will be scored and will determine the outcome for his final placement in the 2020 season. Definitely, I know it's been a very exciting build up towards the end of the season, especially considering the slow start. All month of April, we had no racing after the first week, but it's coming down to the last few weeks. Very excited to see Scott McLaughlin go, and we're going to talk about another driver growing in their talents and coming to NASCAR.
On Saturday afternoon, Hailie Deegan made her NASCAR Gander RV and Outdoors Truck Series debut at Kansas Speedway. During the race, Ford Performance announced that she'll be in the Truck Series full-time in 2021 with DGR Crosley. Deegan progressed the entire race and worked her way through the field, and she ended up finishing 16th in her debut and never put a wheel wrong. How would you rate Deegan's Truck Series debut?
Definitely a good Truck Series debut. Want to go out there, log laps, learn the truck, and considering no practice, no qualifying, she did that. A lot of people are watching her. I think there has to be a lot of pressure, especially you have Ford Performance, their driver development behind her. Monster Energy, some big time sponsors that are going to be committed to her. To come out there, run in the top 20, keep the truck clean. Overall, it has to be a big win for her starting off her first NASCAR National Series debut.
Yeah, definitely a big win for Hailie Deegan. Come away with a top 20 finish, and I actually was gonna say a top 25 would be good, but she definitely did a lot better than that. And I think she should definitely be proud of her Truck Series debut. It was really interesting watching her progress through the race. It looks like at first, obviously she used the first 1/3 of the race, to get used to the handling of the truck and how to get it like around the racetrack and then she started clicking them off one by one and looked very impressive in the truck. And I'm sure next season she's gonna do a good job in her rookie year in what's gonna become bringing back the old title, the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. And Deegan finished third in the ARCA Menard Series point standings behind series champion Brett Holmes and runner-up Michael Self. She finished second twice at Daytona in the Fairgrounds Dirt Track, but unfortunately didn't get any wins in 2020. And we all know ARCA has smaller fields and the Truck Series way more competitive. Joe, do you think Hailie has been rushed up, or will she benefit more from competition in trucks instead of only having a few competitors like her time in ARCA?
Honestly, with the state of the ARCA series, I feel this is a good move to go in the truck series. ARCA, with the smaller fields, I think the competition level is still tough. I mean, we're seeing the competition there going on for the championship. But the big thing is, you don't exactly have as much of a learning growing period currently compared to if you go to the trucks next year. In the truck series, you're going to be in more venues that are run by Xfinity, by the Cup Series. That's going to be a little bit more super speedway racing, a lot more mile and a half, where in ARCA, you have the short tracks. Of course, short tracks are a really great learning tool, but definitely to advance her career in the NASCAR National Series of the Xfinity Cups and Truck, I think the trucks will be a good fit for her.
Yeah, you brought up a good point about the current state of the ARCA series. No, car counts are low, and I do feel like that the Truck Series would definitely be a better way to measure Hailie Deegan's talent, to let her learn, grow, and develop as a driver. So I do think that it's the right move to have her race in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series in 2021. And recently, Deegan has been the center of attention for some troubling social media posts. This includes a post where she was complaining about ash on her car from wildfires while people were literally losing their livelihoods and their lives. Then a hoax comment about the pandemic in which Geico stopped sponsoring the Deegan's podcast. So she's gonna be moving up, gonna be a bigger platform as she moves up from ARCA to trucks, then from trucks to Xfinity, from Xfinity to Cup. What should Hailie Deegan be aware of as she'll continue getting on larger stages throughout the course of her career?
This is something every athlete, whether it's in motorsports, a stick of ball sport like football, baseball, soccer, when you advance yourself from Pee Wee, Little League level to high school, local dirt tracks, local karting tracks, college level, or regional levels, and then to the national stage, you have a bigger platform. With that bigger platform, a lot of times more responsibilities, especially cup drivers, not just cup drivers, but any professional race car driver. That fire suit is not a blank fire suit like at the local tracks. It has the names of big time sponsors putting a lot of money and a lot of faith that you're going to represent them well. From what happened with Hailie Deegan, I'm really hoping that somebody, had gotten in touch with her, talked to her about, hey, we need to talk. You got a bigger role, a bigger platform now. A lot of people are going to be looking up to you. There's going to be some pressure of, when you're on social media, make it the best for your sponsors, represent yourself well. The last thing we will want is some sort of comment to land you in hot water, because that's going to put us all in a bad bind because at the end, the sport is a business, and a lot of times businesses are going to look at what's going to give them more businesses and more support from consumers.
Yeah, definitely moving forward. I really hope that Hailie Deegan becomes more aware of some of the things that she posts on social media. Like I mentioned, complaining about the Astron Carson on wildfires while people were literally losing their lives and in their homes. Like people were really struggling with those wildfires, and then it just come off as really insensitive when she's complaining about the Astron car and they're referring to COVID-19 as a hoax when it is clearly not. That's just not a smart comment. So moving forward, I just really hope that Hailie Deegan is able to reflect and see why you can't post and say those things. Maybe get a mentor in her ear, coaching her along, and over a period of time, we'll see her grow, grow, learn from this like a lot of young people do. I'm sure everybody who's young, post things like that, makes mistakes, but ultimately is up to them to learn from it. And I'm very hopeful that Hailie Deegan's gonna look back on this 5-10 years down the road and be like, wow, that's something that I should have never done, but I'm better now because of the mistakes I made. And Joe, a little while ago, you brought up a good point. As Hailie Deegan's moving up, she's gonna be getting experience on all types of tracks. And you did mention, it seems like her strengths are on the short tracks and the dirt tracks. And she looked really solid in the season opener, the ARCA season opener at Daytona on the super speedway. She doesn't really have a ton of road course experience with stock cars, but she did run the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge season opener on the Daytona road course with Multimatic Motorsports. And today, Deegan actually announced that she'll compete in the upcoming IMSA events at Laguna Seca and Sebring to get that experience turning left and right. And it seems like she's gonna need a little more time on the mile-and-a-half tracks. Are there any tracks you feel that Hailie will be a bigger threat to win at next season, and any tracks she may struggle a bit more at as she progresses through the ranks?
That's going to be really interesting to see, especially with her experience. She's done Daytona, she's done Talladega, the super speedways. That could be a strong suit for her with that super speedway experience. Of course, the big thing with the super speedway, keeping your nose clean. You could get caught up in the big one. We've seen it in the truck series. A clean race, I could see her potentially winning a super speedway race. I wouldn't be shocked if she was to win it. The short tracks, once they go back to Bristol, the experience there is going to be really key for her. I think she could really do good there. And then as for the mile-and-a-half ovals, the big thing is, assuming you're going to be able to practice, get to qualify, come out of the trucks, learn, be able to get that truck set up to your liking and running good. I wouldn't be surprised if Hailie Deegan has a pretty solid rookie season in the truck series. I anticipate her. My prediction is going to be she will make the playoffs.
Yeah. When you're looking at all of those different tracks, I do think that she's going to definitely be in contention. Obviously, Daytona and Talladega, two tracks where basically anyone can win. I know Larry Matt said, "Is that if their car can crank on at Daytona, Talladega, you can go out there and potentially win the race." So I definitely think super speedways could fall into her hands, and also short tracks should be a good place for her as well. And we don't really know what's going to happen with the Eldora dirt race, and I feel like Eldora would have definitely been a good track for Hailie Deegan, especially since they recall her the Dirt Princess. Yeah, and definitely a lot of uncertainty surrounding Eldora. However, we still don't know the expanding the truck schedule, especially for that Bristol race in the spring. Maybe we'll see the trucks join the Cup Series at the Bristol Dirt Race, and I'm sure that would definitely be a race circled on Hailie Deegan's calendar, and it's really good that she's going to be competing in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge races to close out the 2020 season. Laguna Seca and Sebring, I think that's definitely going to give her some more experience on road courses. Maybe road courses will be good for her as well. And I do think if I had to pick the type of tracks that might be a little troublesome, it might be at a mile and a half. But heck, she went out there and finished in the top 20 on the mile and a half at Kansas. So she really might be off to a great start. And yeah, with all rookies, it's always a learning experience. Some catch on faster than others, and some take a little bit more time. We're just gonna have to watch Hailie Deegan's development closely and see how well she does. But it seems like she has a great group of people at Ford Performance and DGR Crosley behind her right now.
A very great group of people, and definitely an upcoming talent that we're going to be following. And of course, we'll be talking more about Hailie Deegan tomorrow on Grid Girls, 12:30 Eastern, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, every Thursday right here on the Grid Network. Another driver that still has a lot of potential, and today made an announcement, Erik Jones. Richard Petty Motorsports signed Erik Jones to a multi-year deal to drive the number 43 Chevrolet. Jerry Baxter will stay as the team crew chief, who has a relationship with Jones from their time together and the truck series at Kyle Busch Motorsports. No sponsors have been named at the time, but RPM seems optimistic about being competitive. Jones said that RPM has something to prove. He has something to prove, and the entire group is ready to write a new chapter in that organization. And of course, since Bubba Wallace started for RPM full-time in 2018, this team was struggling with performance, and they've been improving a lot, especially this season, a very good season overall compared to the prior two seasons. RPM seems to be a team on the rise. Erik Jones has driven for one of the top teams in the NASCAR Cup Series, Joe Gibbs Racing. His ride for next year is definitely a few steps a little bit lower from what some would consider as a top tier ride. What do you think of RPM with such an active choice for him, or was this the only choice at the point for Kyle Jones' Cup career?
Oh, I think it was a little bit of both. I think that was really his only real shot of staying at the cup level right now, and I also think it's attractive because RPM has been a team on the rise, and when before all of the things started falling into place this silly season, people thought as soon as Joe Gibbs Race announced that Christopher Bell was going to be taking his place in house, a lot of people thought Erik Jones would be going to the number 48 Allied Chevrolet at Hendrick Motorsports, but no, they put Alex Bowman there, right? And then and people were also like, maybe he's gonna go to the 42 when Matt Kenseth steps out at the end of the year. And nope, Ross Chastain has that. And then people were like, where in the world is Erik Jones gonna go? And then Richard Petty Motorsports seemed like it became the only realistic option for him to stay at the Cup level at this point, or potentially drop down to Xfinity and try to knock off a championship and come back in 2022 when the next gen era starts. But but I do think that maybe if they're able to secure the necessary funding, that Erik Jones can take that 43 team to the next level. I know it Bubba Wallace when he started driving in full, 2018 full time for the team. We've seen a lot of progression since then. I think it seems like their performance is really improving. They're not extremely competitive yet, but they're certainly running a lot better than they had been in recent years. And maybe if they're able to secure some funding and Erik Jones sticks with the team, and it is a multi-year deal, so more than 1 year, so definitely have some time to grow with the team, secure some funding because Erik Jones is certainly he's still one of the top young talents in NASCAR, and maybe just maybe Erik Jones can give the Kings number something that they haven't experienced in a very long time.
With Erik Jones and his experience and everything that RPM has gone through this year, growing as an organization, I think this is a big winning combination. Erik Jones knows how to win at the restrictor plate, Daytona. I would not be surprised if you're going to see that 43 car contending for the win at the Daytona 500. I will not be surprised. I see Erik Jones. He has the potential to win at all the tracks. He's going to really, I think, benefit from the rise of RPM this season for next season. Of course, RPM, Chevrolet, their engine partnership they're going to have. This is going to be a really good combination, I think, for the two of them. They all, RPM, Jones, have something to prove next year. This is a good combination for them to go out there and prove they could go out there, they could win races, and they could beat everyone else. Especially, I think Erik Jones is a little bit more motivated to go out there and beat, especially his old Joe Gibbs teammates.
Yeah, definitely. Both organizations have something to prove. Richard Petty Motorsports can go out there and show Bubba Wallace why he should have stuck with them and try to keep building out their program instead of going to a Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin team. And Erik Jones can show Joe Gibbs Racing that they were completely wrong to give up on him and slide in Christopher Bell. Yes, so definitely group at Richard Petty Motorsports is going to be fired up next year to go out there and try to run it the best that they possibly can. And and yesterday, one of the worst kept secrets in the garage was revealed. Stewart Haas Racing announced that Xfinity driver Chase Briscoe will move up to the Cup Series driving the number 14 Ford Mustang full time next year. He's going to be replacing Clint Boyer, who moves to the Fox Sports broadcast booth. As an Indiana kid, Chase Briscoe has idolized his fellow Hoosier Tony Stewart. Now he'll get to drive for his hero in the NASCAR Cup Series in Stewart's car number 14 that he won the 2011 Cup Series championship with. Briscoe said that he needed to win 8 races this year to prove that he is deserving of a Cup ride. Last weekend at Kansas, he won his 9th Xfinity race of the season, advancing to the championship 4 at Phoenix, and definitely enjoying a breakout season in the Xfinity Series. Well-deserved opportunity for Briscoe and SHR's Cup program. Would you agree?
I would agree. Going out there, winning 9 races this year in the Xfinity Series, this is clearly the talent that Stewart Haas Racing wants. They saw it at the Xfinity level. Get him. Sign him into the Cup Series. One of the big things I kept thinking, I know he said he needed to win 8 races. If he was to win 7 races, still, they want to go try to get him before another team grabs him. I say this is going to be really good for Briscoe, for the 14 car. It's going to be really interesting how the rookie season develops.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like that Chase Briscoe's really worked his entire life for this opportunity. I'll get a little more into his story in a little bit, but imagine being an Indiana kid cheering on Tony Stewart for years and years, your childhood hero. Then all of a sudden you're driving for him in a NASCAR Xfinity Series, and then you're sitting down having dinner with Tony Stewart, and then he announces that you're going to be a full-time Cup driver next year. So after spending many years wearing Tony Stewart's gear, sitting on the couch watching Tony Stewart race, and you're finally driving for him at NASCAR's highest level. It and in his number 14 car. And I really do think that Chase Briscoe will definitely appreciate this opportunity, and he'll never ever take it for granted. And Briscoe has certainly become a popular figure in the garage this season. In his free time, he's on Reddit interacting with fans, and Briscoe is one of the more fan-friendly drivers. And we of course saw the story of the miscarriage his wife Marissa suffered and how hard it was for the Briscoe couple. Then his emotional win at Darlington, only a little while after the miscarriage, Briscoe held off one of the best Xfinity racers of all time in Kyle Busch, and it's been so incredible watching the love between Chase and his wife Marissa Briscoe. Just an amazing love story right there. And how he bet on himself by moving to North Carolina, stand with other people just for a chance to be a stock car racer. He almost gave up, and then his big break arrived when he got an opportunity to test with Cunningham Motorsports, and eventually got a full-time ride in the ARCA Menard Series and with them. And Briscoe ended up winning the 2016 ARCA Menard Series championship, and this led to him moving up to the Truck Series full-time in 2017 with Brad Keselowski Racing. And unfortunately, BKR closed down, and Briscoe was forced to move up to Xfinity in 2018, probably 1 year earlier than expected. In 2018, ran part-time between Stewart Haas Racing's number 98, and we all know the Roush number 60 Ford Mustang. Briscoe had a lot of ups and downs on the number 60. I'm sure a lot of people remember that car just had the most awful luck between Briscoe, Austin Cindric, and Ty Majeski. It seemed like every single race that car was crashing or having some type of issue. And because of all the struggles in his car, some thought that Briscoe's career could be in some serious trouble. However, he ended up winning the Charlotte Roval that year, and Stewart Haas Racing put their trust in him by giving him a full-time Xfinity ride in 2019 with the organization. And Briscoe ended up finishing 5th in the standings. SHR brought him back this year, and he has truly developed into a star in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. And all of that hard work has paid off. In 2021, he'll finally be a Cup driver. And despite all of the ups and downs, Briscoe can say that he truly made it to the big leagues. What makes him such a likable driver to the fans?
As you said, his story, it's almost this underdog story from Indiana. Grew up watching Tony Stewart race, cheering for Tony Stewart. Indiana, that seems to be home of course, another famous underdog story, Rudy, that I could think of. Big thing Everyone loves an underdog, and to see Chase Briscoe work so hard, had such heartbreaks, including what happened with Brad Keselowski racing closing. It's definitely something where there was times where he could have just, well, I tried my best. I'm just going to settle for something else, give up on that dream. He didn't. He's active with the fans. We don't see a whole lot of drivers do that, be active with the fans, especially over the internet, social media. That's really great. The big thing with Chase Briscoe, his personality, his struggles, being open about it. One of the big things, especially I think after what happened this past weekend, where we've been talking more about mental health. Chase Briscoe, we've seen the emotional heartbreak at Darlington, and then his win at Darlington really captures what I think a lot of people are going through, the highs and lows of this year, and just makes him more personal and more likely for fans to say, I like that guy. He's not afraid to hide his emotions. He's just like me. He worked so hard to get there, and I'm cheering for Chase Briscoe.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the things that makes Chase Briscoe really likable is that he comes off as a very genuine, hardworking person, and I feel like a lot of people can identify with that. And we really got to see the emotional side of Chase Briscoe after his wife Marissa suffered a miscarriage, and saw how much he loved his wife, and just being a really caring husband. I do feel like that Chase Briscoe's won over the hearts of a lot of NASCAR fans. Oh, I thought that was a fly there. Sorry about that. But yeah. But Chase Briscoe, I feel like his future is incredibly bright in NASCAR, and he's definitely proved that he belongs in the NASCAR Cup Series. And next, before we get into our next segment, we have some breaking news to share. Racer.com is reporting that the Haas F1 team could announce some news about its driver lineup as soon as the next race in Portugal coming up, that both Roman Grosjean and Kevin Magnussen will be dropped at the end of the season. And Racer.com's also report that Nikita Mazepin could be one of the names linked to this seat at Haas. But also we know Mick Schumacher and Robert Schwartzman as well. Callum Ilott was supposed to drive for the team in the last round before Friday's practice session got canceled. So Joe, after hearing what could happen at Haas soon with both Roman Grosjean and Kevin Magnussen getting dropped, what's your initial thoughts to this potential?
Well, I mean, considering how long Roman Grosjean and Kevin Magnussen both been there, the team needed to look at making a big change, and I think this is sort of the change that they had to do. Of course, Formula One is a series where it is so competitive for the driver. You have to be performing, bringing in sponsorship money for the team. I believe they were just at a point where it was not becoming a good idea to keep them another season. The struggles of Haas this year, of course, a lot of it, they are using Ferrari power. We know that engine's not 100%, but I just believe it's time for a change over at Haas.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think Roman Grosjean and Kevin Magnussen, they've just won out their welcome at Haas, and I feel like the team, they definitely need a breath of fresh air. Yes, it's been really good for their team to have that consistency in the driver lineup with both Grosjean and Magnussen. But I did feel like that the team needs a boost, and the current driver lineup of Grosjean and Magnussen, it's just gotten stale over time. And yeah, they've fallen quite a bit compared to where they were in Formula One. I just feel like it's time for new management, new ideas, a new driver lineup, and I think for the Haas fan base, they definitely get fired up to have a new young driver in the seat, like a Nikita Mazepin they mentioned, and also got the three Ferrari junior drivers, Mick Mick Schumacher, Robert Schwartzman, and Callum Ilott.
Yeah, new drivers, of course, brings a lot of excitement around the team. Definitely, it'll be really interesting to see. Of course, Grid Live Saturday will report on any developing news from Haas F1 as we preview Formula One, MotoGP, NASCAR, and the IndyCar Series finale. Will Scott Dixon or Joseph Newgarden be the champion? We'll find out Sunday at the IndyCar race at St. Petersburg. One of the things, of course, St. Petersburg traditionally the season opening race. This year, the season ending race due to the pandemic going on right now. Just today, Racing Point driver Lance Stroll didn't race last weekend at Nürburgring. Today, he shared that he had tested positive for COVID-19 on the Monday following the Nürburgring race. He has since then tested negative and will be racing Sunday at the Portugal Grand Prix. Of course, last week, Valentino Rossi announced he tested positive and missed the Aragon Grand Prix. Since then, it has been reported that he had traveled to his girlfriend's birthday party in France. This has resulted in criticism from many over his actions. How concerning is this that as we're approaching the fall and late winter with some of the outbreaks going on and affecting not just motorsports, but the drivers racing?
Oh, Joe, it is extremely concerning to me. I mean, the scientists have been warning us that of this fall wave for months. COVID-19 cases have been rapidly rising in the northern hemisphere. Even countries in Europe who did a really good job at getting the pandemic under control during the summer are starting to see this entire thing go in the wrong direction. I'm genuinely concerned about the people in the F1 paddock. The season doesn't end until December 13th. They need to remain vigilant and protect one another. And I really have no idea what could happen to the end of the season if it comes to a point when it's no longer safe to continue racing. And in regards to Valentino Rossi, when you have gatherings during a pandemic like a party, you put yourself at risk of getting infected. Health professionals have been warning that this kind of behavior will lead to consequences, and unfortunately, Valentino Rossi suffered the unfortunate consequence here. And speaking outside of racing, I'm very worried about everyone's health and safety as we enter what could be what many scientists are calling the darkest days of this pandemic. And on behalf of everyone here at the Grid Network, we wish that you remain happy, healthy, and safe from COVID-19 because the danger is indeed real.
It is very real. It's very unfortunate, especially as we see drivers that sense of invisibility that, oh, it won't happen to one of our favorite drivers went away shortly. I mean, we've seen Jimmy Johnson, Austin Dillon, Sergio Perez, Valentino Rossi, Lance Stroll, the latest. Many drivers have contained the virus, gotten sick. Definitely wishing everyone a speedy recovery, especially everyone battling the virus currently right now. Now, of course, with all this, news came out after the Bathurst 1000 race this past weekend. According to motorsports.com, New South Wales health authorities found traces of COVID-19 in the sewage from Bathurst, indicating that the virus was present. Now, the sample was over the weekend during the motor race, and it's a warning for everyone in the area. So this could be someone that had attended race or a local in the area. With this news and how the Australian Supercar season with multiple delays, postponements, schedule changes, was it a good idea to end the season now with the Bathurst 1000?
Oh, this was perfect timing for the season to end before things got a lot worse. They've done an exceptional job of keeping the pandemic under control down under. And whenever I watch news coverage of the pandemic there, it seems like they're almost back to normal life. Despite their success so far, this case proves that you cannot let your guard down without an effective, safe vaccine. You definitely don't want to get too comfortable, even when things are looking up, because things can definitely take a turn in the opposite direction and a heartbreak. Testing, a heartbeat. Sorry, but and testing sewage water has proved to be an effective way of detecting potential COVID-19 outbreaks early. It's definitely prevented some outbreaks at universities here in the United States, including my school, UNC Charlotte. We can only hope that everyone who attended the race shows some responsibility and gets tested, because it would be a shame if the Bathurst 1000 became a super spreader event.
It will be a shame if it was a super spreader event. Of course, one of the big things, motorsports, they're trying to keep everyone safe just because of everything going on with the pandemic. It's definitely one of those cases where we wish a speedy recovery for everyone involved and anyone fighting the virus. Now, time for some quick takes.
The end of last weekend's Motul Petit Le Mans produced quite a bit of drama. In the closing stages of the 10-hour endurance race, Pippo Durrani and Ricky Taylor battled hard for the overall victory. Taylor was leading, then Durrani made an exciting bold move heading into turn one to take the top spot. Then the two drivers battled fiercely. With only minutes to go, Taylor tried to make a bold move of his own, and instead he ended up wrecking. Pippo Durrani out of the race, damaging his number 31 Wheel Engineering Cadillac DPI Ringer Van der Zande escaped with the lead and scored the overall win for Wayne Taylor Racing's number 10 Cadillac DPI with co-drivers Ryan Briscoe and current IndyCar points leader Scott Dixon. After the race, Jordan Taylor was standing next to his brother Ricky, who was looking very defeated. Then Pippo Durrani entered the scene and didn't appear to be happy with Ricky. Durrani had his hand on Ricky's shoulder. Then Jordan Taylor pushed it away, and apparently didn't like what he was saying to his brother. It looked like the situation was becoming heated. Even Helio Castroneves, Ricky's co-driver, was down there in the mix. In the end, Ricky and Pippo ended up stepping off to the side to handle their differences without any fists flying.
When it comes to NASCAR's James Buescher, set for a return. The 2012 NASCAR Truck Series champion James Buescher will return for the upcoming race at Texas Motor Speedway. For the first time since 2015, he'll be driving for Nice Motorsports. Since his last start, Buescher became a real estate agent when he ran out of funding to continue his racing career. He is the cousin of current Cup driver Chris Buescher.
Formula E updated the schedule with 2 doubleheaders to kick off the season. Santiago, Chile, the opening race weekend, will now have a doubleheader. So will the second race in Saudi Arabia, is hosting 2 rounds, and the season is set to start in January 2021.
Mirko Bortolatti is pretty ill, unfortunately. Sportscar 365 reported the unfortunate news. The GT World Championship European points leader has fallen ill. Of course, Mirko will be missing the weekend's total 24 hours of spot due to an illness. It was described as flu-like infection. He was going to drive the number 31 WRT Audi R8 LMS GT3 with Kevin Van der Leyen and George Van der Voort. Chris Meals slides over from the number 30 Audi to take his place. Audi called up TM driver Ferdinand Hasberg to replace Nies in the number 30. Complete the spot line. We wish Mirko a speedy recovery.
The 2021 Masters 12-hour endurance race will not take place next year due to international travel restrictions caused by the global pandemic. And with Australia having some of the toughest restrictions of all, it just made perfect sense to call off the race until next year. And this decision left many disappointed, but we're hopeful that the race will return strong in 2022.
2020 World Finals to be the last call. The Can-Am World Finals has been postponed to 2021. However, the 2020 season will still end at the Charlotte dirt track. The World of Outlaw last call featuring the World of Outlaws Morton Boeing late models on Wednesday and Thursday, November 4th and the 5th, and the World of Outlaws NOS Energy Drink Sprint Car Series on Friday and Saturday, November 6th, 7th. Now, due to the travel restrictions in New York, the Super Dirt Series will not participate. World of Outlaws CEO Brian Carter said the current restrictions made it impossible for everyone to get together in the pit area. A couple of months ago, the World of Outlaws experienced a cluster of COVID-19 cases following the Knoxville Raceway event. The track later shut down for the rest of the season.
AJ Allmendinger helped Colic Racing dupe everyone into believing that he had a major personal announcement coming up. However, it wasn't the announcement that we were expecting. It seemed like Allmendinger was going to play a role with the number 11 Chevrolet. In reality, Justin Haley is just returning to the seat for a 3rd consecutive full year of NASCAR Xfinity Series racing.
We've had big news about George Russell. Formula One seat is in danger. Chris Medlin from Racer.com reported that George Russell's seat could be under threat. Sergio Perez has emerged as a candidate alongside Nicholas Latifi next season. The new owners of Williams are looking at the possibility of changing the driver's lineup. Perez, of course, is well-funded with sponsors, so is Latifi. This could leave George Russell, the odd man out, in a shocking twist to silly season. Of course, George Russell, very popular on social media for his online video game streaming.
For the second time in several months, Jason Beam of Beam Designs is in the spotlight again for all the wrong reasons. Today on Twitter, he responded to the news of Erik Jones taking over the 43 car. He said that Richard Petty Motorsports will actually be a will man and not a political statement looking for attention, referring to Bubba Wallace. During the summer, Bing posted some tweets that got him into some trouble. He referred to Bubba Wallace's Black Lives Matter car as garbage. Also, he said that it's a sad day in racing watching NASCAR put their drivers and teams in their sport in the political spotlight of racism. According to an NBC Sports article, Beam got dropped by Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, and of course Bubba Wallace himself because of those troubling posts.
Those were some really troubling posts earlier in the year. Definitely just something very shocking to read about that. Now, definitely want to thank everyone for watching today's episode. Be sure to visit our Patreon, become a Patreon supporter, help the Grid Network grow and expand, especially for 2021. We're looking forward to being at the track, providing you race coverage as well, especially for our Grid Live programs. Be sure to like and subscribe. Grid Girls tomorrow, Grid Live Saturday. Myself, Kobe, Jessica will all be there. And then be sure to join us in the chat at the Grid Network Discord. Go on Discord, type in Grid Network there. You can find us. For Kobe Lambert at the podium finish, I'm Joe San Diego. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.